I'm a very in-person type of person. Like if you email me, I will call you, I will email you back. If you call me, I will call you back. It may take me a little bit, but I just think that that's so important in our business because I need to know who you are. And so say for example, like we were just talking, I'm off to A&M tomorrow for 3 days. So if I have a voicemail from you when I get back, and let's just say, you know, the TCU career fair was today. If I have a voicemail from you when I get back, it may take me a couple of days to get back to you, but you're going to go to the top of my pile because I'm going to call you back first because you expressed interest and you chose to follow up with me. Now, you don't want to harass somebody, and being a headhunter, you have people blowing up your phone, and like literally nobody could understand the fact that I would have 20 voicemails in an hour. I mean, it just happened because I was working on so many jobs at one time. But, so I mean, if you call, you know, wait a couple weeks, if you still don't hear anything, then maybe you could send an email. So I mean, just make sure you're spacing out. But I mean, I would say a couple of days after the career fair or so, maybe a week later, just so they can have a chance to get their head on straight like me and sort through all the resumes and try and get everything organized. But I believe it shows interest, and you would go to the top of my pile. You'd be the first person I call back.
24 hours would be too soon. So at that point, we're still trying to get back to our office, catch up on what we missed because we weren't there, and then we get phone calls like, I just barely got my coffee ready, you know. So 24 hours would be too soon, but I agree. Within a week would be appropriate.
I think for a larger company though, our volume is just unbelievable. I think within 2 weeks, if you haven't heard, the company moves back up. For a larger company, if they have a job opening that you applied for and you haven't heard, in 2 weeks you saw the recruiter on campus, then I would follow up. But for a larger company, it's going to take longer than 2 weeks.
I'm not an HR, so I'm kind of curious what the answer. It was the same day. I've actually interviewed people before I even got back from the restroom in between breaks. I had an email, and it was it seemed very ingenuine to me. It didn't seem thoughtful. I didn't even feel like the individual could have possibly decompressed, you know, just sort of decompressed from the conversation that we had and contemplated what, you know, maybe I'm thinking I have more powerful interview skills, but it was a really, and maybe it's generational, but you have to think about who you're interviewing with, and just as we have to respect that in terms of who we're hiring, you need to think about that in terms of who you're interviewing with. But it was just too quick. It just seemed that I gotta send my thank you and check the box. So put thought into that, and try and think about what, you know, I think what was that conversation, and what did you like, what did you really like? If you reinforce maybe what that one sentence there is, you want to make sure that person takes away to follow up with. So it's good to hear that 24 hours is too bad. It can make it feel thoughtful.
Let me just add something about generational. I interviewed a young lady on campus here at TCU one time. And I'm okay with it. It didn't bother me. She was covered in tabs. And so I had to, at the end of the interview, just advise her that she may be going to a defense company, which is kind of, you know, military-oriented, more clean-cut look, and that before she interviewed, she might want to wear a long-sleeve shirt and turban. So if you're interviewing, you have tattoos or earrings, you want to hide.
I don't want anything to distract, right? So what we really wanted to, and it just eliminates the possibility, right? It eliminates the possible distractions.
Along with strong perfume and cologne. If you're in a tight space interviewing it, you never know, people may have allergies. So that may be something as well that may not leave a positive.
Okay, so I gotta add another one. Don't be sitting in your car smoking a package of cigarettes and then come in for an interview. That's another no-no.
Going off of actually both of what they said in regards to the thank you notes, handwritten thank you notes are really awesome. You know, a lot of people don't do that anymore, and believe it or not, I didn't throw them away until I actually moved. And there were even a couple of them that I kept from interns in Oklahoma City. But if I got a thank you note, I hung it up on my bulletin board. And so if I sit here and I see that thank you note, all the time I'm like, I really liked that girl. Or, you know, whatever. There's this one girl, she sent me a really, really pretty thank you note. That one got to sit on my desk because it was really, really pretty. So I mean, you just have to think about stuff like that to where my emails, I get so many emails, I turn around and I've got 10. If I get a piece of something in the mail, that will stick out more to me. And sometimes, yeah, you don't know, hey, is this person, are they really going to get it? But look on the business card, see if they have, directly where they're going to. So it's just something to think about. And then that way you can write it, like right after you meet that person. Because then that way you're going to remember everything that you spoke about, but it's not going to arrive until a day or two later. So, you'll be good and it'll still be fresh on your mind, kind of like the email thing. And then in tying into appearance, in our industry, we have everybody be clean shaven. It's just a statistical fact that somebody appears to be more trusting and they're going to be more willing to buy something from someone if they are put together, professional, and clean shaven. So some of you may have beards that you're just so in love with and that you don't want to part from, and that's okay. I think it really kind of depends upon your industry, but it's just something, so you don't wear like a loud, crazy, like snazzy, like you may be in love with purple because you go to school here, but if you have one of those like silk, purple, jazzy looking shirts like a saxophone player would wear, maybe wear something a little bit more toned down. So then that way it's not as out there type deal.
I think you're selling yourself. You're at a career fair, and we're seeing hundreds of students. What is going to make you stand out at the career fair? Hopefully it's not that purple shirt you're wearing. Being able, your resume, what does it say on your resume? What did you say in your conversation? How did you research the company? Can you come in and say, this is a job I wanted, and talk to them about that job? If you're sitting there trying to get information out of them about, how many rivets are in the JSF or whatever, they're not going to know that. This is about you.
I think part of it might depend on where you are in the process and what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're looking for an internship that's going to start in 3 months, you're going to have a very different objective, right, with that career fair than if maybe you're a junior and you're really not, if you haven't started yet. So if you're someone who's an analyzer, to go in, be fully as put together and ready, and you have to think about kind of what your personal message might be and what that personal story is. But I think to ask questions, it's two ways, right? But always know they're going to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself. You got to have a couple sentences, tell me a little bit about yourself, and kind of make it as generic or broad or specific, depending on if people from nursing. You're going to have a very specific objective, right? That's going to be different than maybe someone who thinks they really want to go into sales, but you might be able to sell anything. So you're going to have a different couple sentence story. But you need to be able to answer that. Tell me a little bit about it.
I would also say, totally get to you in just a minute. I'm sure Career Services has told you, to have an elevator speech ready. About a minute long, hi, my name is Janine, I am graduating December, whatever, I'm da-da-da major, whatever that may be, whatever you think is important, say I'm driven, I'm dedicated, I'm willing to think outside the box, go above and beyond, whatever's awesome about you, just come up with something. And there's a fine line I always say between cocky and confident. This is your opportunity to sell yourself. Now you don't want to be like, well, I did this, and just like sit back and just start being like, let me tell you all about myself right now, and how great and wonderful I am. But by just being on point and saying, this, I have proven ability to be a multitasker, whatever you want to say about yourself in that first little bit. And then also, since they always tell you to tailor your resume to the job, when you're at a career fair, you've got tons of companies. Obviously, you can't. If you do, I would be thoroughly impressed, but I imagine you don't have time for this to do like a different resume for every single company that's there. But maybe like what I did is I did marketing and advertising. So obviously if I'm going into a HR role, they're not going to really care about my segment onto Born in America or something like that. So I had a public relations resume and a human resources resume. And so then that way, depending upon whatever I was going for, then you could hand out whichever one. So that could also help you where you're like, I want to say so much, and then on your resume, don't have it to be like 3 pages. Keep it to a page, page and a half, at max 2 pages. Okay? Now, if you're wanting to apply for a specific engineering job where you have to have a bunch of different software skills or something like that, that may be a little different, but in general, you don't want to overwhelm somebody who's just trying to read through your resume.
And if you do your research on prop jobs, you can tell your top 5 companies and tailor at least those. So whenever you get to a recruiter, and the recruiter gives the hiring supervisor at the office, they'll be like, wow, out of these 20, this one really did their research beforehand. It really does go a long way.